Broadcasting from Now Media Network's headquarters in Houston, this is Be Productive, hosted by business strategist and productivity expert Clara Capano. Join us to discuss the most critical issues affecting our businesses with a fresh, practical, and objective discussion on the first bilingual media network in the United States. Be Productive starts right now.
Welcome back to another episode of Be Productive. I am your host, Clara Capano, and I am honored that you are sharing time with us today. We have a powerful and informative segment coming up for you. We are going to be covering topics and discussions around strategies to help you increase those profits. We're going to be going over how to make high quality decisions so that you can grow and scale your business with purpose. We're also going to be going over tips and tricks for payroll management, and then also how you can leverage your team and also stay compliant when you are engaging with employees and companies that are out of the country. You are going to be learning so much in this episode. You're going to want to take notes. So stay tuned, because we're going to be right back and help you be productive. Welcome back to Be Productive. I'm your host, Clara Capano, and you're going to want to listen up for this next segment, because we are talking about something that is important to all of us, and that is profit. You see, we can focus on making more money, but if we're not profitable at the end of the day, that's a whole different story. So to help us talk about how we can focus on leveraging and increasing our profits, I am bringing in my friend, Rob Tritt with Profit Partner Group. So Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yes. Well, you're going to be sharing some really great information to our viewers. You've been doing this for many years. You coach a lot of people to success in business from the side of profitability. So talk to us. What are some of the areas that businesses really need to identify and focus on where they might be losing profits?
Well, this is such a wide open question, because there are so many areas of opportunity for business owners to lose extra profit. And really it comes back to understanding the business and knowing the business, So if we talk about things like just knowing the numbers, it's important to know where the business generates profit, where it generates revenue. It's also equally important to review the financials to understand where it's losing profit as well. Mm-hmm. So things like checking expenses on a regular basis, from quarter to quarter, where are certain expenses that might be growing disproportionate to other expenses or to the revenue in general. That kind of thing is important to see.
It's hugely important. And when I work with my clients and when I take them through the Clarity Success Method, the T is all about tracking and measuring, because you're right. It's not one size fits all, and everybody needs to take time. And if we're not tracking and measuring, we're not going to know what we might be able to leverage or what we might be missing. What have you found in your expertise? What have you found are some of the greatest or most common mistakes that companies and leaders are making that could affect their profitability?
Not knowing the numbers is a huge one. Mm-hmm. That's very, very common. Business owners do not understand the numbers. The numbers tell a story. So also looking at processes and procedures, inefficiencies in those processes. The longer a process takes to go from A to B, the more it costs. So the more it meanders, the more expensive it is. So we want to look for processes that go boom, 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 boom. We also will look for bottlenecks and redundancies. Where are things being done twice or three times? They only need to be done once. So the more redundancies there are, the more expensive it is. Yeah. So inefficient processes are huge.
That is really, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that sometimes people don't pay attention to their systems and processes, or they put something in place, but they don't evolve them over time. And you're right. Sometimes a system or a process that worked several years ago, it might need to be adapted to today's business and the way things are running, because you're absolutely right. I love the term you use, bottleneck. And when we have those bottlenecks, just like on a freeway, it causes us to lose that momentum. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. So thanks for sharing that.
Mhm.
So you talk about this idea of profit leaks, where again, when we have these bottlenecks, when we have these inefficiencies, profits can start to leak and again, go unattended to. So what are some of the best and most effective implementations that people can use? What are some of the measures that they can do to put into place to, again, make sure that they're not having these profit leaks?
Again, it really comes back to understanding the business, understanding how things should flow through the business. How is the production supposed to be done? We don't want to have too many people doing the same job. It's just really important to understand how things work in the business and keeping on top of the various aspects. And that sounds kind of general, but there really is a lot to just understanding the pieces and parts. And I think if people understand the pieces and parts, they'll really be able to make the business as a whole much more efficient.
Yeah. Now, again, you coach people and work with them one-on-one in helping do these. So how often are you working with your clients and evaluating and looking over their processes with them? Is it an ongoing thing? Do you strategically try to do it once a quarter? What are your best thoughts around how often you should be reviewing as a business owner?
So I work with my clients once a week. And we work generally, we'll start out a project and we'll work I like to work for at least a year with the client. Now, my goal is to be a long-term partner with them, so that they're comfortable at some point being able to say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this and doing that. What do you think? So that's where I want to be. But initially, we'll just start reviewing problems they're having. How do we fix this problem and that problem that's causing the business owner to be stuck, and get them unstuck to where they can move forward and grow their business without stress and frustration.
Yeah, that's great. And I really love how you brought up the fact that you want to be a partner with them, because I think, as business owners and leaders, that's what we need more of. We don't want people to just come in and then leave. Again, we want people that are going to work with us long term. And I know that there might be people out there that are looking for an expert, or what I like to call a trusted advisor, as yourself. So where is the best place for people to find you if they want to learn more about you and maybe reach out and bring you in for a consultation?
Well, you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, so feel free to look for me up there and message. You can also give me a call at 770-256-8216 or email rob@profitpartnergroup.com. And of course, my website is profitpartnergroup.com as well.
Beautiful. Well, Rob, thank you so much for bringing so much value. And for those of you that are watching and following, again, make sure that you have a trusted advisor, a trusted partner to help you. Remember, it's not just about making more money, it's making a profit. And we need to make sure that we are evaluating our systems, knowing the numbers, tracking and measuring. And when you have a partner like Rob watching your back, you're going to be assured success. So stay tuned. We'll be right back for more Be Productive. Welcome back to Be Productive. Our next segment is all about decisions. As a business owner, anyone in leadership, our days are filled with making decisions. And we want to make sure we're making the right decisions, because some decisions move us forward and some hold us back. So to help me with this conversation, I have growth strategist Mark Wetzig here with me. Mark, it is so good to have you back on the show.
Good to see you again, Clara. Glad to be here.
Yeah. I love having you on the show because you really bring in a fresh and different perspective when it comes to not just running a business, but growing a business and growing it from a very strategic standpoint. What I want to talk about today is the power of decision making. And more importantly, how can today's leaders and business owners use data to be able to help them really start to analyze what's working and not working so that they can use and make higher level decisions?
Okay. And there's a couple of things that are really important. First is the source of data. Make sure that you're accurately, tracking whatever you're trying to track, that the source of your data is good. Don't assume that. So it's always something to check. And then the next thing is in analyzing data, what do you trying to analyze? Because it's just numbers, and numbers tell a story. But what is the story that you want to have told? Tied into that also is a common error that a lot of business owners get into, is that they want to analyze too much data. We call it KPIs, key performance indicators, which really monitors activity within your business that's not financial. So that could be sales tracking, it could be marketing tracking, it could be production tracking, whatever. Most owners will try to track everything. That is something that leads to a lot of, you mentioned decision making, that can really lead to flawed decision making or rushed decision making, because there's just too many numbers there. So most owners, what I recommend is you pare it down from whatever you've got to a handful, around 5 or so. 6 to 8 is really a good, well, how can I manage my business with just 6 to 8? You actually can, and you should. And if you have any more analytics that you need to go through, delegate it to somebody else. Let them be responsible for it. Don't take it all on as the owner. Because you can understand top line growth with 1 or 2 numbers. You can understand profit margins with another. You can understand efficiencies with another 2 or 3. So, there's your 6 or 8. It's a trial and error, but you can dial it in a pretty quick amount of time. So it's the source of data, what you're looking at, and then, really paring down to the most critical areas that you want to look at that monitor the health of your business. And one final note is they can and should probably adjust and change a bit over time.
That's so good. And, Mark, I really appreciate you bringing in the idea that 6 to 8 is sort of the sweet spot, because you're absolutely right. Tracking is so important, but too much information, it's that analysis paralysis. And that's why I think, again, working with an expert like yourself is going to be able to help them, because in your initial consultation, you're going to sit down and talk with them and help them identify these so that the guesswork is out of it for them and that they will be very clear. Now, I also know that in tracking, we have to have tools to help us track. So what are some of the best and most effective tools that you recommend a business owner look at in helping them analyze all this business data?
Well, there's the old standard is Excel. Now, Excel they'll not be great at sourcing data, but you can do some analytics work with a lot of analytics work with Excel. And one thing that you should be of note is you should get somebody who's experienced at Excel to really get the most out of it. So Excel, like anything else, is a tool. It's how you use the tool and the experience of the person using the tool. So that can help you do some analytics, but again, that won't get you into sourcing. Sourcing, there are tools out there that are standalone tools like Tableau. Power BI is Microsoft. Zoho is another one that seems to be pretty common. It's not terribly expensive, and it can track a lot of different, a broad range of things and give you somewhat of a dashboard. But a growing trend right now is, particularly on the customer facing side, is that a lot of these analytics are built into CRM systems. So if you get a website, you have a CRM, it's all going to be integrated with analytics. So what's your traffic like, what's your conversion rate like, what's your sales closure rate like? But again, that's typically more customer facing and won't affect or won't track things that are within your operation. So that's one of the things that you need to really be aware of is, what do you really need? And that's one thing I help with is, what do you really need out of your analytics? And that will drive what the tool is, because very often what's sold to you is maybe more than you need, or it doesn't really exactly match what you need. So what I
Yeah.
find is understand what you need first. And that's what I help with is what are you looking for? And then go match that with what's out there.
And, I love that. And I'm laughing to myself because of all the tools that, I've purchased, so many of them don't do what I need them to do because, again, I didn't do the analysis and I didn't have someone like you guiding me on what I really need to look for. So that is so huge. Now, Mark, you've been doing this for a long time, like well over 20 years. Can you think about a specific instance that you worked with one of your clients and how by helping them, again, identify and really bring in the right tools, how this really transformed their strategy and their growth?
Well, I had I do a lot of business in the food industry. So this was a produce company. And they had technology, they had their website, they had a CRM. They knew that analytics was there, but they got busy and, business got in the way of the business, and they weren't really using the tools. So one of the things, especially with something as time sensitive as produce, is there's some really important metrics in there that you need to monitor. As far as sourcing things from the field to getting into production and turnarounds and distribution. So we backed up, just like you had talked about before. What do you need? What's the most important things in your business that you need to track? Well, they listed them out, because one of the problems is the technology was sold to them and they didn't know how to use it, and they weren't really trained on it. They just weren't trained on it.
Right.
So they backed up. What do I need? What do I need to track? What's most important? What can I have other people track for me? They got then trained specifically on, how to use things, and it dramatically improved the decision-making of both the owner and also some of the vice presidents of the company, to be able to not only confirm that they were doing things correctly, but also course correct very quickly as well. Because that's another thing that is really valuable in data analysis is if you're going off track somewhere, the quicker you get back on track, the better. And again, it's all about time, responsiveness and time.
That reminds me of, the airline pilots. I read somewhere that, a plane is off track about, every minute it goes about 1 degree off track. And that's the pilot's job, is to course correct before they get too far off track. So basically you help people, again, pilot their way to success. And I think, the tools and the ideas that you brought up today are so powerful. Again, first, let's really identify what it is we need to track, and let's not get lost in all of the areas. Let's really key in on the top, maybe 5 to 8 that are the ones we really need to focus on. Because again, every industry, every business is different. Let's make sure we have the right tools and know how to use these tools. Because again, when we embrace the data and really know how to, go through and analyze the data, that's really what's going to take us to the next level. So Mark, I know there's people out there that are going to want to follow you and learn more. Where is the best place for our viewers to find you?
My website is reignitegrowthcoach.com. And then my email address is markw@reignitegrowthcoach.com. And then my cell and text number is 303-921-3440. Texting or calling is fine. A text message just is usually the quickest way to reach me if I'm busy and so forth, is that I'll get back to you right away. But those are the 3 best ways.
Beautiful. Well, for those of you watching, I hope you took some good notes, and make sure, again, as a business owner and leader, we are not just making decisions, we are making the best decisions possible for the growth of our company. Stay tuned, because we'll be right back for more Be Productive. Welcome back to Be Productive. I'm your host, Clara Capano. If you're a small business owner, you have a team with you. So if you have a team, that means you have payroll. What we want to do today in this next segment is talk about payroll management and how effective and accurate bookkeeping is going to help you to stay productive on the side of making sure that you're also delivering payroll in the most effective, efficient, and legal ways. Because let's get real, we want to make sure we're paying our people and we want to make sure that we are staying compliant. So to help us with the conversation, I am bringing in my dear friend Noura with Noura's Books, and she's going to talk with us about how we can make sure that we have proper payroll management. Noura, it is so good to have you back on the show.
I'm glad to be here.
You know, you have so much knowledge, and I love how easy you make it for us to be able to understand these things and really open our brains up as business owners and entrepreneurs when it comes to all things bookkeeping. You know, when we're talking about payroll management, this is something that we don't always want to think of, but again, it's one of those systems that we better have in place if we want to have long-term success in our business. So how does bookkeeping and the systems of bookkeeping help to integrate with proper and effective payroll management?
So the system, payroll management is just another puzzle goes to bookkeeping. So this is an important part because it can be a major expense that you want to make sure you have it. And when we say payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all of these, like depending on the state and area you are in. So you want to make sure you have all of that integrated with your bookkeeping system. If it's not integrated, you want to make sure it's actually entered correctly by your accountant or bookkeeper to make sure you are not counting out that payroll system.
Yeah. Wow. So, you know, as you're working on all this and as you're getting your payroll systems together, what are some of the challenges that can come up, especially for smaller business owners? What are some of the challenges, the obstacles that can really come up when we're looking at our bookkeeping on the side of payroll?
So the biggest challenge is compliance because it's a lot of things coming up with payroll. You have to file the IRS taxes. You have to file with the state. You have to pay those taxes on behalf of your employees. You have to do a lot of things in terms of compliance. So this is really challenging. You need someone to know how to do this or use a system that's automatically do that, which I usually prefer. Even when you use an accountant, outsourcing an accountant, maybe you can have your accountant be in charge of that, but use automation. Make sure you pay extra for that automation because that's going to help you. There are like, like Gesto, QuickBook Payroll, all of these systems. It depends on how big is your organization. Then you can use, and your accountant can recommend the best one for you, but it's better to use some system, and your accountant can actually be in charge of that, overseeing that process, making sure she gets the information so she can put it on your books and don't forget it, and make sure like nothing falls apart, because even when you are using an automated system, something might go wrong, they might miss something. So still someone has to be doing the work and making sure you're not missing anything. You're not needing a number maybe in the state, especially if you're new, that the withholding number is not there and they did not do anything and they're waiting for you and then something is missed in the middle. So this is the biggest challenge. Another challenge is privacy. You want to make sure like you're keeping the information of your employee in a secure place, and limited people have access to that. So this is a real challenge. And if you have hourly people, how do you measure the hour? How do you get them early enough so they can meet payroll? And how you control, like you make sure like this is really how much time that person works. So those are like the biggest challenges I see when it comes to payroll.
Yeah. And, you know, again, so important to be able to have someone like you looking out for us, because this is one of the things that I tell all the people that I work with, because I work with, the entrepreneurs, I work with the leaders. And for most of them, their job is to be out in the field. Their job is to be, again, connecting with the client, working on the sales and the growth. It's not all of this back end stuff. This is not where we thrive. And knowing all the ins and outs, it's not going to serve us to do these things. So this is why, for those of you that are watching, work with a partner like Noura or somebody else that you know that you can trust to guide you. So Noura, I want to back up a little bit, because one of the challenges you brought up was compliance. And I'll be honest, compliance is scary because it changes all the time. The rules and regulations change all the time. And if you are not up to date with the compliance, you could really open yourself, your company, your team up to some big problems down the road. So talk to us about bookkeeping, accurate bookkeeping, maybe even real-time bookkeeping. How does that help to ensure that we are in proper compliance?
So that makes sure you have a proper documentation, accurate withholding, so you're not withholding something just based on guessing, or maybe you think something happened. No, you are doing the real-time bookkeeping, so you know like how much each employee is getting in each period, so you can withhold the accurate account, and you pay the accurate amount of payroll taxes, and be ready to file and pay those taxes in a quarterly basis. Sometimes, like some companies are required to do that on a monthly basis. So when you do bookkeeping, you have all the documentation, you are ready to file and pay, you're not late. So you are not penalized with money or more than that, right? You need to have to be ready to handle any dispute that might come up from any employee, or if you never know, like the labor law, you want to be ready, like to bring the documentation that you have if there's anything happened, any dispute, any claim against you, because you never know, like employee might be now good with you. If anything happened between you and the employee, they got mad for any reason, they might go and sue you. But if you are ready, there's no problem, because you have to be ready. Yeah, we assume everyone is good, but dispute happen, people get mad, and you have to do what's right for your business. So you want to make sure you document.
Yeah, because you know what? I'm going to be ready when I know that someone like you is ready for me, because I want to work with someone that has the level of knowledge and confidence to make sure that I am protected as my business grows and scales. So Noura, how long have you been in this realm of bookkeeping and finance?
So I've been doing bookkeeping, accounting, all type of accounting for more than 20 years. So now I'm basically an independent CFO. So I can do more than bookkeeping, but bookkeeping is the foundation for every business. So I've been doing this for companies, for nonprofits for a long, long time.
Yep. Again, so you need to make sure you have a partner like Noura in your team. So where's the place for finance? Watching.
People can find me at my website, nourasbooks.com/contact. They can book a call there. They can actually follow me on social media, listen to my YouTube. I do have a lot of information on YouTube, and recently started a podcast, so they can follow me there to get more information. And they are certainly welcome to book a call so we can talk on Zoom and see if they need help.
Bottom line, and helping you with the right systems to get everything in place so that you are compliant and you are working at the highest level of productivity possible. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break for more Be Productive. Welcome back to Be Productive. I am so excited to bring on my guest for our next segment. We have Ingrid Perez with IBP Immigration Law. So Ingrid, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here, because when we talk about being productive, a big part of productivity is also making sure we have the right team in place. And as business owners, leaders, investors, we also need to make sure that we are being very proactive in our ability to bring on and retain the right workers. You do this a lot with investors, especially bringing in, people from other areas. And we're going to talk about some of the things that we need to keep in mind when we are bringing in, people from outside, and how we can, again, be more purposeful and proactive in not just bringing in the right people, but also retaining that talent. So talk to us from your level of expertise. What are some of the types of the investment visas that are out there that owners and investors should be aware of?
Sure, absolutely. So the one that comes to mind right away is a visa called an E2. And really what an E2 is an investor visa for eligible foreign nationals that have certain nationalities. And this visa allows them to invest in the US economy, open a business, whether it's a products business or a service business, and create a few jobs for American workers. In exchange for that investment in the US economy, the United States allows them to come to the United States with a visa where they can live and work on their business.
That's so incredible. And again, being able to, again, expand it on a more global level. So when somebody is looking at doing this, what type of an investment is required for the business owner?
So the law actually doesn't specify a minimum, right? What the law says that it needs to be a substantial investment. And that is really an analysis of the type of business you are hoping to open. So for example, if I'm opening a small cafe in Orlando, my budget and the minimum investment is going to be a lot different if I'm opening that same cafe in a city like Los Angeles or New York, where the costs are a lot higher. So you have to do this market analysis to figure out what is typical for that cafe in Orlando, right? What is the typical investment for that cafe in Orlando? So things that an investor would consider is the rent at the location, maybe the equipment, the furniture, the branding, the licenses, the inventory, the payroll, all of that goes into consideration when showing immigration that this amount is your investment into the US for this visa.
Yeah, that's incredible. And again, another reason why they should really look at working with an expert like you, because again, knowing these different ins and outs, with so many things, again, it's going to be very different city to city, state to state. So they need to make sure that, again, they are getting the guidance and knowledge from someone like you. What are some of the expectations for compliance that, investors, business owners, and leaders need to keep in mind?
Well, it's very important to make sure that your business licenses are up to date. When you're presenting a visa like this to immigration, a visa application for the E2 specifically, you want to make sure that the business is up and running, right, at the time that you file. You have to show that you are at a place where the moment you come to the United States, that business is operating and you're just going to step into the shoes of the manager. So making sure that the licenses are up to date, that anything else that you need as far as depending on your industry, right? For example, if you're in the food industry, you have to make sure that you have your licenses for that specific industry. If you are in the hair salon industry, right, you have to make sure that your employees, your workers have the necessary licenses to provide the services. That is really important. And another thing that investors, especially foreign investors, have to be aware of, that the United States has tax returns every year, right? We're coming up with the tax deadline right now. So making sure that payroll taxes are paid, local tax receipts, things like that, yearly tax returns are filed is incredibly important, especially looking forward to renewing that visa. The E2 is a type of visa that you can renew indefinitely as long as your business is operational. Making sure that your business is compliant is part of that.
Yeah. And, we started off the conversation, talking about this idea of being productive. And it sounds like so much of this is in the ability to be more proactive. Talk to me a little bit about, your level of expertise in guiding business owners and investors to be more proactive in their efforts to help them with all of these products and programs and being able to, again, have these key things in place.
Absolutely. I think for any investor, right, it's a challenging. Opening a business is difficult. It's a risk, especially for a foreign investor. You're coming to a place where you may not know the language very well, or the culture, or the norms, right, of your market. So I tell people to educate themselves. It's really important to study your market. Make sure that this is a business that you are comfortable running. Right? If you need education, you should have that as well, because you're putting your investment, your savings, sometimes your life savings, into this endeavor, it's really important that it goes really well. Another thing that I tell people also is that make investments that are actually meaningful for your business. For immigration, you have to show that your investment is at risk. You have to actually have purchased the equipment, rented the space, right? Or invested into a marketing campaign. Make sure that you educate yourself, that you're working with professionals that can really help you. That is really, really important. And I think that sometimes is difficult if you're a foreign national. Doing your homework ahead of time is key.
I love that. Fantastic. Well, Ingrid, tell us a little bit more about where, our viewers can find you. I know that you are, housed out of the Orlando area, but tell us a little bit more about your firm and how people can find you.
Sure. So the name of my firm is IBP Immigration Law. I'm located in Orlando, Florida. This is where I have my physical office. But I work with clients all over the world. I have clients from Europe, Africa, Canada, all over the United States, South America. Geographical bounds is okay for me because immigration is federal law. So it doesn't really matter where I am, as long as I can help my clients. That's fine. If people want to reach out to me, they can go to my website, ibplaw.com. They can find me on Instagram at ibplaw as well, and on LinkedIn by searching my name, Ingrid Perez.
Love it. Well, Ingrid, thank you so much. And for those of you that are following, again, make sure that you are thinking more globally. There are so many avenues to be able to help you grow your business and to be able to bring on the best team possible. And when you have all of these key ingredients in place, that's what's going to help you not only be, but stay productive. So stay tuned. We'll be right back for another segment after this. Welcome back. I hope that you gained value from today's episode. I know that I took away a lot. One of the biggest things is always the reminder that success and productivity do not happen without systems. And all of our guest contributors brought this to light. Having, again, strategies. At the end of the day, we do need to increase profits and revenue, but we have to be strategic about it. Quality decisions. Not every decision works the way we need it to work. So let's really make sure that we are running our decisions through a process and a system of checks and balances. Bookkeeping. We've got to track our dollars. We've got to make sure that we are looking at things from that higher 30,000 foot level. So we are tracking and measuring and, again, accounting for all of those things. And then with the growth that we're seeing, sometimes the best people we can partner with are going to be outside of our country. And if we are not thinking 5 steps ahead, we may get out of compliance. So taking all of these things to heart, I appreciate you spending time with us because our goal is, again, to help you as a business leader, as a small business owner, and even as a solopreneur to not just work, but to work smarter so that you can maintain high levels of productivity and get the results that you want. I'm Clara Capano, and we'll see you next time for more Be Productive.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.